count of three, we will start. 1, 2, 3. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
To the
to the
flag
to the
flag
flag
of the
of the
United
United
States of
States of
America
America,
and
and
to the
to the
republic
to the
republic
republic
for which it
which it
for
stands,
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
uh,
God,
indivisible,
visible,
indivisible,
with liberty and
and
liberty
justice
and
justice.
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Thank you. So our meeting for July the 15th, our regular business meeting, this begins a new kickoff for another year. And we have a lot of housekeeping business to take care of today. Welcome, Hope J. We are going to turn it over to the superintendent. Dr. Cash, what do you have for us today?
Good evening, colleagues. I think tonight I have three items that I'm very pleased to present to you under the superintendent's report. The first item actually doubles very nicely with board recognition and under the superintendent's report. I'd like to introduce to you for the first time what we had promised we would do probably several months ago, and that is to establish a health advisory committee that would guide the school board, the school district, and be a particular reference for me as superintendent as I work to finalize a reopening plan for the district. So I went in search of, and I'm very, very pleased to present four distinguished members of our community. The first is Dr. Rachel Dominguez. And Dr. Dominguez is a graduate of the Buffalo Public Schools and a proud parent of a rising district 7th grader. She earned her master's degree in education from Harvard University and her PhD in sociology from SUNY Buffalo. Dr. Dominguez is co-chair of the Buffalo Parent Teacher Organization, and throughout the COVID-19 closure, she has been a leader in providing support to our students, parents, caregivers, and other community stakeholders. Welcome, Dr. Dominguez. We also are very pleased to have the esteemed Dr. Oscar Gomez. He is the Director of Infectious Diseases at Oshai Children's Hospital. He earned his MD at National University of Columbia School of Medicine in Bogota, Colombia, and his PhD at the University of Maryland School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland. Dr. Gomez is extensively published pediatric specialist who also serves as an associate professor of pediatrics at the SUNY Buffalo Jacobs School of Medicine. The distinguished Dr. Dennis Quo is the Chief of Developmental Pediatrics and Rehabilitation for UBMD Pediatrics. He earned his MD at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine and his master's in health science at the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in Baltimore, Maryland. Dr. Quo has presented extensively across the US in a broad range of topics and is also an associate professor of pediatrics at the SUNY Buffalo Jacobs School of Medicine. Welcome, Dr. Quo. And finally tonight, Dr. Willie Underwood is a recognized expert in health services, research, healthcare disparities and equity, and healthcare policy. He earned his MD and a Master's of Science in Anatomy and Cellular Biology from the State University of New York at Syracuse and a Master's in Public Health from the University of Michigan, School of Public Health, Ann Arbor, Michigan. A leader on numerous distinguished boards and a specialist in robotic urologic surgery, Dr. Underwood currently serves as a clinical associate professor at the SUNY Buffalo Jacobs School of Medicine. So colleagues, as you can see, this is a very, very distinguished, very diverse council that we have had the good fortune to bring together, and they're serving us exclusively. And so I'm very, very pleased that they accepted my offer to join us. And if we could at this time, ask each of our members just to say a word or two about joining us and what it means to them, what they envision their service can be for us. Dr. Dominguez.
Yes, thank you for having me. As a lifelong Buffalo Public School student and now parent, I'm very grateful for all of the opportunities that I have received through BPS. And I feel it is incumbent on me as a parent to continue to work to make BPS as great as it can be. And in this moment of the pandemic, it is particularly important that we all communicate as much as possible with each other. And I look forward to taking up that opportunity to communicate to parents exactly what is going on in terms of medical research that's being done before reopening any buildings. Thank you.
That's right, Dr. Dominguez. Thank you for that point. We're going to follow the science. Dr. Gomez.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation to be here. It's a real honor to be part of this group. And I really appreciate all of the work that you do. Is certainly, as a pediatrician, as a parent, the work that you do is very, very important. So I will be certainly very happy to contribute in my capacity to provide advice that may be needed in these difficult times based on my background in infectious diseases.
Thank you. Dr. Kuo.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. What a pleasure it is and an honor to be here with you today. I'm a general pediatrician with a very specific interest in disabilities and complex care. And in addition to being here in the faculty, I'm also the chair of the Council of Children with Disabilities for the American Academy of Pediatrics. I raised that because we are involved with looking at national guidelines that we can bring down to local school districts. And really my passion is to be able to serve communities and families of children with disabilities and special healthcare needs. And to ensure that we take into account the needs of all of our students and to be able to make sure that they get the education they need and deserve. I understand that with these uncertain times, we need some flexibility, we need some shared decision making. Hope to bring the best to Buffalo, to my home, and I'm just what a pleasure it is to be on this committee. So thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Underwood.
Hello, it's my pleasure and honor. And like Dr. Dominguez, I have a 7th grader at City Honors as well. They're in the same class. Well, again, my role here, from my perspective, is to do what I can to make it so that every parent and every child feels safe to go back to school, be it virtually, hybrid, or in person, and that they get an educational environment and a process that allow them to make their dreams come true. And for me to be a part of this and contributing whatever skills I have to that is an honor and privilege, and it's why I went to medical school. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. President Cottman and board members, is there anything you would like to say to our distinguished guests tonight?
Board members, do you have anything? You can raise your hands. Vice President Lou Petrucci.
We haven't heard from Dr. Caban yet this evening.
Dr. Caban is a speaker.
Forward to that one as well. Okay.
Would you still like to say something, Lou?
No, I'm good, Dr. Cash.
Okay.
Don't have anything to say? If not, I will.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for making a commitment to support our school district and to help us during this this time. You know, each of you, many of you are parents. You understand what's involved as far as entrusting you're entrusting your children to someone else. It's huge. And as a result of that, I'm going to look to you to be our gospel. Say, and what you recommend, we're going to take wholeheartedly, and we're going to respect and honor. We do not want to make mistakes when it comes to our babies and their health. But with that said, I see other board members have raised their hands. But what I want to tell each and every one of you is that I believe in my heart that this is God's work. God protects babies, children, and some people say fools, but that's a whole nother conversation. And that the work that you guys are going to do with us and to help our superintendent and our district navigate through these times is going to be priceless. And each one of you are going to receive a go card when you get to heaven. Do not wait, just go straight through. How's that? But no, all things aside, I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for your commitment to helping us to be the best we can be. Thank you. I have another board member's hand who has gone up. Looks like it's Terrence Hurd.
Yes, I would like to say thank you for helping us. Our children are very important to us and our community, and we have a lot of questions here in the city of Buffalo. We have taken a lot of questions as board members, from the community, and spoke with our community. All parents are concerned about the welfare of their children and the direction that this district is going to go in. I'd like to thank this board and this health committee for forming together to take an opportunity to make informed decisions with our community. And also, Buffalo has been a leader in this country. And ever since this COVID virus has came, people have been following what we do. And I'm glad that we have this health board here today that we can help set, standards in the city, the state, and national. So thank you for your work, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, Dr. Cash, thank you for putting together this team.
Committee, again, thank you. We'll be in touch, and we'll have another meeting within the next week or two as we continue to advance our reopening plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you to you all.
Thank you.
Now, I have two more items. President Common, but I didn't know, Darren, if there was something we needed to do at this time for our guests, or should I just go ahead and mention it?
For our health advisory guests?
Yes. Should they stay on?
No, they can actually log off.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a good evening, colleagues.
Very much.
Thank you. All right, the second item, colleagues, I just wanted to very briefly acknowledge some staff members who are, all of our staff are working overtime and diligently under a lot of duress, but yet they're soldiers throughout all of this. And I want to commend all of our staff. But I particularly want to just give a commendation tonight to Dr. Will Carestas has done a great job at putting together a plan for reopening City Hall and non-school sites so that we can begin to phase in coming back into buildings that are non-school sites. And that plan is on this agenda tonight, and you should look at it and review it. And we're asking for your feedback as a board as soon as possible for the reopening of City Hall plan in particular. So Dr. Carestas is the one that you would contact with those comments and suggestions or any remarks at all. So we thank you. Great job, Dr. Carestas. And then Dr. Darren Brown Hall has done a phenomenal job, as he always does, as Chief of Staff in coordinating this massive reopening work that we're all engaged in at this time. It's a work in progress. It is unfolding as the state continues to issue guidance. and we're following a host of first-rate resources as we put together our localized plan. So Dr. Darren Brown Hall, we thank you, and colleagues, you'll begin to see important elements of that plan over these next several weeks. We expect it to be completed by the 1st of August or the last of July. And when I say completed, in an advanced state, because none of this is completed, it's an organic rolling document, and we need all of your thoughtful attention to it and the input from you and your constituents. We want to hear from your stakeholders so that we can continue to put the best elements possible into this important plan. So those two colleagues, I just wanted to recognize this evening. And then for my third and final item under the superintendent's report tonight, colleagues, it's very important for us to recognize together the work that we've done. And we have another piece of, I think, good news. I've been admonished that it's embargoed news, but at this time, given that all we're going through and going to be going through, I think it's important to signal, because I can do it as a general statement, that we are going to be between 74 and 75% graduation rate for the class of 2020 this year.
Great.
That is a really, really big deal. 74, 75%. And those children that worked hard, our staff and teachers and principals, everyone, the parents, all are to be commended for not giving up on these students at a time when many were ready to give up. Many were ready to give up. And yet we said, no, not this year, not with our students and not under our watch. And 74 to 75% June, probably another tick up for August. And here's a big one. 12 out of our 20 schools have scores in the high 80s and 90s. So that's 12 out of 20 schools, colleagues. I believe in the accountability era that may be unheard of. So it has a lot of implications to me. Even as we go forward, even some of the testing, I'm not against testing, but some of the types of testing for some of our populations of students, maybe it's not a true indicator of what they can do. When you see how students stepped up this year and made it a goal to get across that line and have a good future still ahead. So I was very pleased to be able to announce that to you. In 1 month, on August 20th, that data will become official, and we'll scrub it some more, and then we will announce it officially at or around the August meeting, and we'll send out to you, all the schools and the disaggregated information and so forth at that time. It still will be informal. We can't go all out with it, but I think as board members, you should have access to that information. I believe President Koppman asked for that information last year around this time. And so we'll be able to do that again in about a month. But anyway, colleagues, that's what keeps us motivated to keep doing this work, frankly. A lot of us are under duress because we feel the weight of all the children's lives, all of our staff's lives as we go forward. But when we see what we can do when we pull together and get outcomes like that for our young people, well, I don't know what else we would rather be doing. So again, thank you for all of your hard work, board, and your support of these goals.
Great.
So that's my report, President Koppman, and now I turn it back over to you.
Well, Dr. Cash, it's always a great day when you deliver such good news.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you for the work that you're doing, Dr. Caresses and Dr. Brown Hall. Certainly, they are holding the fort down and taking care of business, and we appreciate that, along with all the other staff.
Absolutely.
You have a great team that you have assembled, and I am convinced that they are committed for children and excellence for them in education. So thank you for that. To move forward, no other board members have anything to say. We're going to start with our comments from our speakers. And looking at who we have 3 people. I'm going to go ahead and read statement, our guidelines for our speakers, although for this particular group, I don't necessarily think that we need it, but we're going to do it anyway. At this time, the board welcomes speakers who have signed up to speak at tonight's meeting. Please, that all speakers' remarks must be limited to 3 minutes or less. We ask that speakers be mindful that this is a business meeting open to the public and televised locally. Attendees and viewers include persons from throughout Western New York, including children. We ask that speakers conduct themselves professionally and that their comments remain civil and courteous, bearing in mind that they will be heard by people of all ages. This is an opportunity for Buffalo's residents to address the Buffalo Board of Education about issues that serve the public interest and district's mission, and the board asks that speakers demonstrate appropriate decorum. Thank you for joining us. And to our listening audience, how you can become a speaker, you would call before Tuesday of the week of the meeting by noon. The phone number 716-816-3567. You would leave a message and our staff will call you back and set up the time. Our first speaker is Katrina Martin Bordeaux, and Freedom of Speech and Black Lives Matter. Is she here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, welcome, Katrina. You have 3 minutes to express yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Cash. I think that it's important today to speak on the current movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, in addition to freedom of speech and ideological views amongst our school board members. The way that we select school board members and people to represent our children and our interests in our community is based off of what we know about school board members, and the ideological views of those school board members basically is an indicator to community members and parents on how school board members will vote for their interest. So whether it is that the ideological view is something that I agree with or that I do not agree with, it still gives me transparency, and it still allows me to be informed about school board members, because we always have a next election coming up. With that being said, with the coronavirus and the unrest that we see in our community in relation to social, economic injustices, the last phase that many of us had within the community is that we have what we looked at and what we thought to be a cohesive school board. That was like the last phase that we have in, an elected body at this time. So I would ask that all school board members are very mindful of that. The camaraderie and the unity that you all show as school board members gives us hope within the community that we can get through this, and that our children are going to be educated in considering Black Lives Matter, considering educational inequities, that when we speak about resources, when we speak about budgets, when we speak about how we're affected based on our zip code, is that we'll be equitable in our decisions. Because it's not all about equality at this point. It's about equity at this point. When we hear school board members use terminology such as reverse racism, which is a made-up terminology, reverse racism cannot exist, because that would mean that persons that are discriminated against can turn around and be the oppressor. So that's why that is a made-up terminology. And those are things that we should stay away from, terminology that we should stay away from at this time. And I would like to hear from my school board members on radio shows, on more publications. I want to hear from you all. And right now, I don't feel like we hear from our school board members enough. With that being said, I'm just gonna, close it out and, would want you all to be mindful and remember that the community is looking at you, and we need you all to be a cohesive group. If you have any differences, rather than for things to be displayed on social media or an incitement of the public to attack particular board members, I wish that we can figure out a way that you all can talk about these things in private amongst each other, and let the community continue to have the faith that it has in the school board. And like I said, to us is probably our most confident, most pulled together form of government or elected body right now. So thank you all for everything that you do, and just, please remember that, we're out here, we're looking at you, and we have faith in you, and have faith in each other, and please respect each other and act accordingly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Katrina Martin Bordeaux. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Eva M. Doyle, retired BPS teacher, African American history for our students. Dr. Doyle, are you there? Darren?
Yeah, you know what? I know that I gave the information. Mrs. Woods called with Ms. Doyle on the phone. We gave information.
I'm going to go to David Caban, and then I'm going to see if you can help her on, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. David Caban, former principal representing the Multilingual Educational Advisory Committee, concerns of the Hispanic community assigning principals to bilingual schools. Dr. Caban, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
I'd like to, I know time is brief, and normally I would be speaking to a committee, but because of time and the time period that we are presently experiencing, or what we're presently experiencing, I chose to ask to speak to the board on the issues that were presented your last board meeting by Victoria Perez on the issues of assignment of principals, as well as the interviewing process. This evening I'm speaking on behalf of MIAC, Multilingual Education Advisory Committee. So I'd like to be clear that I am not speaking for the Hispanic community. I'm speaking on behalf of an advisory committee, which is a standing committee of the board. And normally, as I said, this committee does a report to the Student Achievement Committee on a yearly basis. But because of the timing and the summer that we're presently experiencing, we won't meet again until September. We did meet in June, and we had a representative from the Hispanic community, Casimiro Rodriguez, who presented the issues. And we did have a quorum at that meeting, and we voted unanimously to support. And what I'm hoping to do with the minute that, or the time that I have, is just to review and possibly shed some light. This is not a criticism, and I want to emphasize that, of the present administration or the board. This is information. We're here to help, be constructive, and getting better insight of how we can proceed to better meet the needs of the ELLs, English language learners, in the district. So that is the purpose. The recommendations that they gave that were unanimously supported by the MIAC committee is: one, the assignment of principals, being that the schools that have bilingual programs, to have individuals who have background in bilingual education, to be clear on that, realizing that the certification, or what we call an extension, is required, and those that gives the theory and background in bilingual ed. And if a principal is going to lead a bilingual program within his or her school, they should have that preparation. Secondly, the assignment of bilingual students, and I'll keep this brief, principals to schools with high population of Hispanic students should be, and it's just common sense, should be individuals who do speak the language. In this day and age, the importance of that leadership as well as communicating with parents. I'll stop there in respect to your time limits. I'm hoping to expand, but the underlining point is, does the practices and the policies of the board and of the district reflect valuing language and the credentials that are required to be bilingual education educators? I'll pause there.
Thank you, Dr. Caban. Dr. Cash, your response to our, oh, I'm sorry, one more. Did we get in touch with Eva Doyle yet?
No, unfortunately, we have not, Mrs. Cotman, gotten in touch with Mrs. Doyle. We will continue to try, but we were just trying. We have not been able to reach her.
Okay, so Dr. Cash, as it stands right now, we have 2 speakers to respond to. We had 3 scheduled. Again, our speakers are allowed to call 716-816-3, what is it, 3567, prior to the board, a week of the board meeting on up to the noon time on Tuesday, to register to vote, register to speak on behalf to the board on behalf of your concern. Dr. Cash, do you have a response for our speakers?
Yes, first may I ask David or whoever, yes, there you go, take down the clock. Okay, so to Miss Martin Bordeaux, I believe it was, I just thought many of her comments were addressed to you as a board. I thought they were instructive, and thank her for her comments overall. I mean, she talked about board unity being important. She talked about equity as a priority for the community at this time. And she said she'd like to hear more from board members and out in the community, which I think is a great idea. I always have supported that. And then I thought she closed very well with such a simple little missive, but one that certainly we all agree with respect each other and act accordingly. And that's what we should do with each other all the time, every day, every moment of every day. And that's what we do. That's what we need to live up to. So thank you, Ms. Bordeaux, Martin Bordeaux, for your comments.
Thank you, Dr. Cash.
Dr. Cash, Dr. Doyle is, she dialed the number that we gave her. It didn't ask her for a passcode, and she's trying to figure out how to get on.
Well, President Common, I recommend you let me respond to Dr. Caban, and if she's able to get on in that time, then we'll continue. That'd be my recommendation.
Is it possible Darren can call her?
President Common, it's up to you.
Go ahead, Dr. Cash, and Darren, please continue to see what you can do to assist Mother Doyle. Please, Dr. Cash, continue and talk to, respond to Dr. Caban. I think, what is that over there named after you, Dr. Caban? He has a library, I think it is, in one of our schools named after him.
So, Dr. Caban, I thank you for your comments and certainly appreciate that you're offering them in a constructive fashion on behalf of the MEAC Council. We certainly agree with your last proposition that we should have biliterate and certified bilingual administrators in our schools that have a majority bilingual population. And I actually believe under this administration and this board that we should be commended for the efforts and the commitment that we have made to placing bilingual and biliterate administrators both at the principal level and at the assistant principal level at quite a few schools. Just to name some, for example, that I know off the top of my head, I know Freddie Barrera is the principal over at School 3. Rafael Perez and Wilfredo Garcia, School 30, doing an excellent job. Hadissa Bachelor and Freddie Salas over at 33. Excellent job. Freddie Barrera at 3. Excellent job doing. Matthew Pegg, I just assigned, and Janet Longo, a Latina, at 48. And 48 is a very diverse school. It's the multi-MLK bilingual school, but it's not yet 50% Latino. It's almost 50% Latino. It has 24% ESL, 16% Black, 12% white. And that's a great team that is supporting biliterate and bilingual education there. Miguel Medina and Maria Cala at School 76, 2 Hispanic and bicultural talented administrators, experienced administrators there. Don Starkey, committed to multicultural language and education at Lafayette High School. And just recently, Giovanna Claudia Cotto at Olmsted High School as the new principal there. In my humble experience, sir, that is a record of achievement and accomplishment and commitment to what you were speaking about, and not a lack thereof. Can we continue to build on it? Absolutely. Always can, always will try. But that is a commitment that we have and will continue to have under this administration. I'm very purposeful about who and how I select principals that are available to us, Now, what I would like to work with MEAC on is how can we build an even stronger pipeline of administrators so that they can continue to grow, come to our district, want to be in our district and serve as administrators. And that is a need that we have right now, is to grow that bench and grow that pipeline of Hispanic and multicultural administrators. But that would be how I would respond to that, and look forward to continuing the conversation. Certainly, I know Dr. Cassandra Wright has had extensive conversations with you, and will continue to inform you with whatever information you'd like to have, and strategize with us in a proactive way so that we can continue this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Caban and Katrina Martin Baudot, for your advocacy for our schools and our district. And I'm looking forward, Dr. Caban, to having a conversation with you soon in regards to a conversation we had the other day. I was requested to meet with a bilingual advisory council. And these were many of the issues that came up. There were additional issues. And one of the concerns that I voiced is the need to make our multilingual education advisory committee more grassroots, to try to get more and to serve the needs of our Hispanic population in a better way. So we're going to see what we can do with that. And thank you. For as long as I've been on the board, you've been advocating. So I appreciate you very much, and the work that you guys are doing. Thank you so much. Were we able to get Dr. Doyle on?
Yes, Mrs. Chapman, I have Ms. Doyle right here on a three-way call. Ms. Doyle?
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome, Dr. Doyle, retired
yes,
BPS teacher, African American history for our students. Go ahead.
Yes, okay. I'm sorry, I had a hard time getting through. Can you hear me?
No problem.
Okay, yes. And for the board members who don't know me, I've spent 30 years teaching in the public schools, and I was known for one major thing, and that was teaching Black history all year from September to June. And so I'm calling the board, and I know you've been discussing these issues, and I commend Dr. Cash for his leadership and including diversity in our curriculum. But our country is changing rapidly, and people are demanding racial justice. The call for justice is for our schools as well, and I'm sure you know that. And but the curriculum must include issues of race to provide our students with a greater understanding of history and what is going on today. And there's so much history that is left out. For example, the masks that we wear every day to keep us safe and well are rooted in African history. Very few people know that, and I don't have time to go into the history, but if you're interested, you can send me an email. I want to recall Paul Laurence Dunbar in the famous poem that he wrote called "We Wear the Mask." He wrote it in 1895. So my challenge to the Board of Education is to make sure that the education that we teach about students of color is not a watered down version, but a real truth. So that's the main reason I'm calling, and I know you don't have a whole lot of time, and I want to send something to the board and to Dr. Cash that may help this along tremendously. I will end with a sad story. I read about a young man in the Sunday paper 2 weeks ago who played for the lacrosse, for the Buffalo Bandits. And he received the first Black MVP in the history of the National Lacrosse League. And he won it in 2016, but he was not acknowledged for his achievement until now. And he talked about the racism that he faced, being called the N-word, being called a monkey. So I end by saying this: let's encourage our young people, for whatever race they are in, to pursue their dreams. And I would also challenge the board that we do discuss issues of race, not only with our students and our teachers, but with the board members themselves. Take the leadership role. And that is all I have to say. I will send you all something to read. And thank you so much for listening to me. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Mother Doyle. Keep her on the phone so that she can hear what the superintendent says, Darren, if you can.
Absolutely. Mother Doyle,
okay.
are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Awesome.
Cash, would you like to say something to Dr. Doyle?
Good evening, Dr. Doyle. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. You're a true
Yes,
Buffalo
sir. Thank
treasure.
you.
True Buffalo treasure. So we thank you for that. I would say that this is an opportunity unlike any other colleagues. We are in a national, international period of unrest, particularly around social justice issues. So if we continue to keep the pressure up and continue to work together on these important issues, I think we can change policy. To change policy, yes, you can begin to change attitudes and mindsets. At the end of the day, it's all about mindsets and how you think about people. So if I would invite you, Mother Doyle, to work closely with our own Dr. Fatima Morrell, who's doing a great job in this particular area. And it's a commitment of this board and a commitment of this administration to infuse culturally and linguistically responsive curriculum across the board for all of our learners, and to train our staff, all of our staff, in these strategies. So your wisdom and your experience, we want to hear from you and learn from you what you have to offer, and make sure that we continue in your fine tradition. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Cash.
And
thank you, Dr. Cash.
We will follow your lead. Thank you.
Okay, have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, our speakers. We're moving forward with our consent agenda. I need a motion to accept the minutes from our previous meeting. Board members. So move Lou Petrucci, second by Paulette Woods. Okay. Next up are our committee reports, and I don't know if anyone has any report. Our last meeting, I know I've been on vacation, so I'm not sure what anyone else has. If someone has something that they'd like to report at this point, we are going to talk more about our committees and their unfinished business further into the agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to share at this point? If not, we'll just move forward. Okay. In regards to our consent agenda, may I have a motion to accept our consent agenda? Was it Larry? Larry and Lou? And okay, thank you. All right. Are there any
And colleagues,
exceptions?
before you discuss that, President Cotman, I would like to pull item 18L as we continue to research this issue around PPE equipment. Going to be a critical issue for all of us. And this particular one deals with masks. But while we're looking and taking a fresh look at that issue, we'll look at all of the other ones as well. Make sure we get not only the best price, but also to make sure they're top quality and safe equipment. So there's a lot of folks that are dumping into this environment and trying to make money. And we want to make sure that we do it right. So we'll pull that item, take a closer look, and come back to you with it.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Darren, I don't have a list of.
Absolutely, Mrs. Cotman. So I answered all of the board members' questions either by email or by telephone. Mr. Petrucci is the only other board member that has questions at items 18I and 18K.
Thank you. Mr. Petrucci, would you please express your concern?
Thank you, President Cotman. My first question was with respect to 18I with our mold remediation services. I just was curious, do we have a problem with mold in the district? And just wanted to know a little bit more about it.
Darren?
Yes. No, we do not have a mold issue in the district. However, we have to have a contract with a provider to actually eliminate any mold that might be found. So no, we do not have a mold issue in the district, Mr. Petrucci.
Thank you, Darren. My last question is respect to 18K, the M&T Insurance Agency. If the district is self-insured, why are we securing insurance services for the district?
Jeff Pritchard is on the line for that answer.
Yep. Good evening, fellow board members. This is Jeff Pritchard. Lou, to answer your question, there's a few reasons. You know, one, we have automobiles, and obviously automobiles have to be insured in order to actually drive them off of our facilities. We also have insurance for the Emerson program. So on Chippewa Street, so where we had the restaurant, that has to be insured, under the law. And then the primary insurance we have is related to our facilities. When we started the JSCB investment, going back almost 2 decades now, a decision was made that because of the significant debt investment and that these buildings would be subject to building aid, that if by chance we did not insure a building and a catastrophic loss happened, we would not be eligible for building aid on that remaining debt. So we have to pay the debt on those buildings, and in each one of them, they can be 30 million plus. If the building was abandoned for some reason because of a catastrophic loss, we would not be able to get building aid. So we'd be out the building. We'd be having to pay the debt, and then we'd also, on the flip side, have to buy, build another building or find alternative space. So a decision was made to insure at a high deductible the buildings and the contents. That way, if there is a significant loss, we can rebuild those buildings, maintain the building aid, and essentially maintain the investment that we have in those buildings.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Okay, one other question on that. Was this an RFP issue for this or what?
So we use M&T Insurance Agency as our broker, and then they will broker out through not a formal RFP, but different pricing. We do it every couple of years typically. The one issue this year, there was not an RFP this year. because typically if you need to get quotes from any other bidder, and we've used it's been with Travelers since the beginning. That's the building insurance. Anyone that would be insuring this actually would have to be able to get into our buildings and physically inspect them, and the timing with the closure was not possible. That's certainly something I think will push them next year, that we're going to want to bid this out.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. I'm sorry. Someone else has a question.
No, this is Darren, Ms. Cotman. We do have a correction on 9C that we need to have noted before the board approves it. So on 9C, line 28, in the comment section, the extension effective date is 8/28/19 till August 11th, 2021.
I have to take a look at that. All right, I have a question on 20B. The lease payment approval for Emerson. In the lease is an apartment. The apartment, I think, is something 600 plus square feet. How is that apartment going to be utilized?
Jim, you want to talk to that? Speak to that? Jim Weimer?
Hey, good evening, board members. President Kottman, I don't believe anything has happened with that apartment. It is completely locked off from the existing facility. At one point, there was a discussion of using it for training for the occupational training center students in housekeeping and different things along those lines, but nothing at all has happened with that facility, within the facility since we moved in there.
Okay, so my concern, and I know we had this discussion before, that we did not want to put expose or take the risk of having someone around our children or renting it out or whatever. But since there seems to be a problem with space for adults in this district, for having places for our administrative people to have access to space, so much so that they are located in our schools, which are limiting us from being able to increase our enrollment in our new innovative high schools that are occupied by them. Has that conversation came up at all about possibly using this as office space?
Well, we need to be cautious about that, Ms. Cottman. This is Nate Kuzma. We will speak with the landlord about that, but the apartment component was important for them to realize certain tax credits, which of course have been shifted onto the district in terms of many hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost savings over time. So we've got to be careful about how we utilize that space.
Okay, all right.
I think the plan is once OTC is in there, of course, that they were supposed to transition in this summer, that we would utilize that apartment space to work with those students. And I think that still is the plan.
Okay, good. Thank you, Council Kuzman.
Thank you.
Okay, if all minds are settled, other than that, Nate, would you go ahead and take the vote?
With on the consent agenda, with the exception of 18L, which has been pulled, how do you vote, Dr. Kathy Evans Brown?
No exception.
Mr. Hurd?
No exceptions.
Ms. J?
No exceptions.
Ms. McCosey?
No exceptions.
Mr. Petrucci?
Sorry about that. Exception for 13A.
Dr. Rivera?
No exceptions.
Mr. Scott?
No exceptions.
Ms. Woods?
No exceptions.
President Belton Cottman?
Exceptions.
No exceptions?
No.
Consent agenda passes. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're moving along pretty well. We are up. Now, Attorney Nate Kuzman,
Yes.
you do have an executive session planned, right?
Yes, for the purpose of receiving legal advice.
Okay, all right. So to move forward is we're going to take our time for our bereavement. This week, Dr. Ann Revere is going to carry that out for us. After that, I will make a motion to go into executive session. See that. Am I ahead of myself at this point? I think I'm ahead of myself.
Yeah, do the bereavements first and then make, I'd suggest you do the bereavements first and then you make the motion to go into executive session, President.
Okay. Okay, and then after we come out of executive session, we will do the unfinished business. Board members, if you have something in addition to what's out there that you want to discuss, we'll put it up at that point. And then following that, we'll do our adjournment. So we're moving along pretty well. Dr. Ann Revere, would you do the honors, please?
Please rise.
And
These are the bereavements for July 15th, 2020. June 9th, Lori Prescuda, a teacher at School 64. June 14th, Maxine E. Hare, retired director of attendance with the BPS. 18th, Louis M. Pucci Petrucci, father of Park District Board member Louis J. Petrucci. June 18th, Flossie Mae Chappelle, retired teacher aide with the BPS. June 20th, Melissa DeCastro, retired reading teacher with the BPS, mother of Alicia Quinowiski, an English teacher at Hutchinson Central Technical High School. 27th, Dennis Licharelli, labor relations specialist with the BTF. 10th, Dorian Baines, daughter of Lisa Daniels Baines, supervisor of Adult Learning Center. July 12th, Joseph Murray, retired deputy superintendent of the BPS. Mary Elizabeth Murray, a teacher at Buffalo Academy of Visual and Performing Arts. 12th, Thomas J. Shea Jr., husband of Barbara Shea, retired director of reading with the BPS, father of Catherine Rabb, a teacher at Southside Elementary School. May we have a moment of silence for them. Our sympathies go out to their families and their loved ones.
To Dr. Revere. May I have a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of receiving legal advice?
Can I ask for clarification on the purpose of the executive session?
To seek legal advice.
In regards to?
Seek legal advice. That's all we're required to say at this point.
We don't have to specify on whether it's a contract, personnel matter?
Do not. I have a motion to go into executive session. All right, second by Jennifer McCousey. Thank you. Okay.
We're live.
Okay, the board went into executive session to receive legal advice. No action was taken. What's on the agenda is unfinished business. Dr. Cash, we've already voted on the consent agenda. So my understanding is the BPS Central Office reopening plan has been voted in, agreed upon. And there was some conversation about that. If someone wanted, I felt we should do that. And I think we should also do our.
It says on it to be tabled.
It's tabled. It was tabled. It wasn't approved. It was for the board's notice only and for your review and feedback.
Oh, it doesn't say that on here, so it's tabled.
Yes.
All right, no problem. I stand corrected. All right, in regards to our conferences, local and national meetings and conferences for 2020, 21, my recommendation is that we do this from today, which is July 17th to July 17th. We do it for a year. That way we don't get into a situation where we have things that happen after the school year is ended and we have to vote on it again, like we did recently, the law conference that is coming up in the month of August. Okay, so yes, Dr. Evans.
To clarify, today is July 15th.
Oh, I'm sorry, July 15th, thank you. Looking at next year's calendar. So do it for a year, Darren, is what I'm saying, recommending.
Okay,
For
is
a
someone
school
gonna,
year term.
that's fine. Is someone gonna read the motion?
All right, can we bring it up so we can read it? Mike?
Can you bring up the motion in number 26 under unfinished business? Yep. He's bringing it up now, Mrs. Scottman.
Can I see it? Does it have the costs in there too?
Does it need to?
Should. As long as it's within their budget.
They didn't know it.
Didn't? Yeah.
Number 26.
21, yes.
Okay. Entire one, okay. All right, so we need to have a motion to approve the following meetings and conferences. New York State School Board Association regional workshops, meetings, and conferences. Erie County Association of School Boards, regional workshops, meetings, and conferences. Council of Big Five School District workshops, meetings, and conferences. Council of Great City Schools workshop, meetings, and conferences, and National School Board Association workshop, meetings, and conferences. May I have a motion to forward? Can't see because it's so small. So
Motion to approve.
Harry, second by Lou. Is that who it is? It's hard to see. Okay,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, okay. All right, so the final thing, and we're gonna, we will deal with the committee appointment via email as per the suggestion of staff. But we need to talk about the possibility of doing something this summer, in August, about our equity resolution. I feel that we should be upfront, should be the first ones to have that discussion. There is an additional discussion that is being planned for the end of August by Educational Trust. So in pulling that together, I've talked with Dr. Cash about working with his staff to pull together sort of a virtual meeting where we talk about equity in the district. And we give our own narrative, and we talk a little bit about direction that the superintendent and the board would like to go and move forward in that. Does everyone understand what I'm talking about with that? Are you in agreement with doing something like that? Or yes?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
We have 5. Okay. Other than that, the narrative will be owned by someone other than the district. The reason for that. It ties into something that was probably being planned before the virus hit, that the district, that this board was going to do as far as informing the public. So we'll work on that with our equity gurus that are in the district and see what Dr. Cash is able to come up with that. Yes, Dr. Cash.
Colleagues, I would also, in relation to that, give a word of caution. If you're being asked at this time to do any interviews and you don't know what the questions are or what the purpose of it are, you can get into a very split situation, in my experience, in a communication way, because you haven't had that communication or that conversation that President Kottman is talking about. You've got to get a message. You've got to have a common message about equity. It should be around a series of points in different areas or different social justice areas, and then you've rehearsed it, you've talked about it, and then you go out as a unified board. If you get onto media outlets and don't know what's going to be asked of you, you'll be all over the place. You'll be all over the place, and it won't serve your purpose well. That's just a suggestion now. That's how I do it. I've done it 42 years, and I've had advice and training in communications and media training, which is a whole field unto itself. So some of you had called me and asked me earlier about interviewing tomorrow, President Kottman, and that's what I'm referring to. I just think it's early. I don't know what you're going to be talking about or what the questions are even. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think if the board member is comfortable with the questions, that they can answer them, then I think I don't think the conversation was going to be about equity tomorrow, but I'm not sure. But as long as the board member is comfortable with, or members are comfortable with the questions that are being asked, then they should speak on it. But I need to be very careful that what you say misinterpreted, or a piece of it can be cut off and be used in another way or whatever. So you have to be really clear with what you're talking about doing. Jennifer,
you should ask for the questions in advance.
Ask for the questions in advance is the rule of thumb, and make them stay on the questions. Right. Jennifer McCuzy, your hand was up, then Larry Scott's hand went up.
So I just want to be clear. So does that mean that pretty much all of us have been reached out for this interview? I haven't responded because I wanted to see, what direction the board is going. I know what we were trying to do before COVID hit and how we were looking to create that counter narrative. So I just want to make sure that, I will not interview, just due to the fact that I don't want for my words to be twisted and I don't want to get caught up. But I just need to make sure that we're all being contacted for the same thing, and then that should be something else we move forward with. Like when folks, are doing this, like they don't talk to you at all, and all of a sudden they want to talk to you and ask you questions. I believe that that's manipulative at best, and it doesn't do anything but draw negative attention. So, I say that publicly so they get the answer they've been looking for, as they've repeatedly asked me for my response on the interviews. I will not be attending.
Okay, so I think there's two sets of interviews that are planning to be are planned, and I'm learning that as we speak. Larry Scott, your hand is up next.
So for clarification, instead of doing the Ed Trust Forum, we're looking at hosting our own forum on equity. Is that what I'm hearing in August?
I'm saying I'm not worried about Ed Trust. I'm not concerned about Ed Trust. What I'm saying is that this board did a resolution of equity, need to take ownership of it before anyone else tries to. And that's what the way that I'm moving forward with that. Okay.
Okay. So there could be board members that choose to participate in that forum and sounds like, choose to interview as well, because we a bunch of us have been contacted, and I'd rather be all of us on the same page on how we're going to proceed.
Interesting that the board was not invited collectively. And so you will remember that my reason for initially pushing back with going along with educational trust is because I did not have the trust that that particularly my new board members would well in the conversation of trying to hold someone accountable to something that they agreed to prior to becoming a board member. And so the individual approach, where individual board members were approached, okay, and we had this conversation via text or email, that I was clear to say, unless the board was invited collectively, that I didn't have a collective statement, or we shouldn't have a collective statement to reply. Now, as elected officials, you are entitled to speak, entitled to speak on behalf of the Board of Education. You're entitled to speak for your ferry as a representative. I'm a ferry representative. You have your right to speak. So if you're comfortable with doing it, I'm not against people doing it. My point is just make sure that you don't walk into something that ultimately ends up more harm than good. That's my point. What we're talking about doing is putting together a forum or a something on virtual, probably for an hour, hour and a half, and talk about equity in the Buffalo Public Schools and the direction that we want to try, move forward. Because it seems like every great idea we have somehow or another gets owned by somebody else. And I want to make sure that we have ownership of our own ideas.
That would be a robust conversation, colleagues. There's a lot you could talk about in such a forum. So I agree. Grab it and you do it. And we'll help. Staff will help you.
All right.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so being said, going to reach out to Dr. Cash. To him, I'm going to ask Lou and Kathy to be a part of that and formulate some ideas. Then once we have that initial conversation, email, tell them what all board members tell them what happened. And then at that point, open up the discussion. And if we need to have a meeting or we need to get together on a conference call to talk about how we want to proceed or whatever, but open it up for all ideas to be incorporated in whatever Dr. Cash and his staff is going to pull together. Good?
Good.
I would just say that all board members should be invited to provide suggestions about that.
That's the reason for the initial conversation with you, and then tell them what your suggestions were, and then to ask them for their opinions.
I got it.
And
okay.
And move it from there. That's what I'm outlining.
Got it.
So if there are no other business, it's a little late. Can we?
There's one other thing, President Belton-Cotman, that was about the ad hoc committees. I would like to make a motion. We have a number of different ad hoc committees operating right now that's trying to receive information from the district. And what we want to do is make a motion this evening for the ad hoc committee chair to be able to receive information from the district without having to wait 30 days for the district or a vote from the board for what information that we need to move forward. The ideal is that that the ad hoc committee will all meet together and discern what information is needed so that they can move forward. And then the ad hoc chair will send an email out to the district so that they can access information and receive information so that the efforts won't be hindered.
Anyone have an opinion on this besides Mr. Hurt?
All information has to be designated as applied to the ad hoc committee for their purpose, and to make sure that we can move forward in a timely manner to get some things done that what our communities are representing.
So yeah. I need an example.
Example
or
as
something that you would ask for.
example as of right now, Sharon, our President Cotman, is that if we're trying to move forward in the ad hoc committee, and it's been times to where members of ad hoc committees that asked for information haven't received it because it was told that we have to wait for a vote from the board to receive any information, say if it's just something about financial or anything like that. I think that we shouldn't be held up for any time period to receive this information, so that as I ad committee meet weekly, so that we can continue on with the goals and moving forward in the district.
Our goals, what goals?
The goals of each ad hoc committee, sir.
I haven't seen any of that. What are they?
Every ad hoc committee has different agendas. The one that I'm chair over is over athletics. So we're looking at programs with athletics, so how we can work with athletic department and move it forward. We're looking at different objectives that we can for the children to make sure that they receive AP classes, starting in 6th grade, so that we can also look to, give counseling and mentoring classes or working with these kids on one-on-one basis as counselors and mentors, so that they can have a better opportunity to succeed in school and also to receive better, more attention concerning college education and scholarships.
That's first I heard of any of that.
Okay,
sixth grade, and I guess I can't devote staff. Like you had just asked for a lot of things about 3 years of data on uniforms for some sport or something. They were questions that I didn't understand. I didn't understand what the purpose of the questions and what the outcome of it was. Staff is working 24/7 to try to get something that we all can feel comfortable about to try to reopen school. Anything else other than that, right now, it's not a good use of staff time. So I would have to see what it is you want. Let the board see what it is you want. Send your questions to the whole board, and then let the board opine on whether those issues are important for us to be chasing at this time. And I respectfully ask for that, because I don't know what the goals are for these ad hoc committees. I haven't been informed about them. And you're asking staff to do things where they already are extraordinarily busy. Extraordinarily busy. This is one of the most complex ventures that is happening in the country right now. And I didn't think any of those questions made any sense, Terrence. I didn't think any of those questions were worth us chasing after at this time. None of them.
Dr. Cash, I never asked any questions about any uniforms or anything like that. I don't know where you received that information from, but it didn't come from me. The only question I asked was about the financials for the past 3 years.
About what?
Financials about the past 3 school years that went to the athletic department. That's important to moving forward, because we're looking to see what expenditures will be as far as the programs that we're looking to initiate, and we're also looking at possibilities.
I don't understand. That's what I'm trying to say. What are you all doing in that ad hoc committee? We haven't talked about this as a board. You give me goals. You gave me 6 goals last year. Now I'm hearing 5 different things that you're just alluding to. That needs a discussion. This whole thing here, this needs a discussion, colleagues. A serious discussion.
Okay, hold tight, Terrence, hold tight. Let's get the other board members in here. Kathy, you had your hand up and you took it back down. You want it's up again? Kathy, Larry, Jennifer, and Lou.
Asked to give an example. So when we, as an ad hoc committee for the reopening of schools, had a couple of meetings, and Ann was the chair at that time. I'm now the chair, but she had reached out to a couple of members of the cabinet because we had decided as a group, let's not move on until we know what the district is doing, right? And reopening, because we didn't want to duplicate services or bump heads. Since which time, so we put it on hold, but since which time we moved on, because now I'm representing our ad hoc opening committee, on the
He
district.
representing, help me understand that. What happened? You guys agreed to change it, or is because of the change of positions that because you don't have to change thing because somebody has a different role in the ad hoc. I'm just
No,
trying to figure out.
No. You're talking about the chairmanship?
Yeah, the chairmanship doesn't have to be a vice president or an officer.
Ann wanted to give it up because she felt associated with the vice president of student achievement. And I just assumed it made sense.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Evans-Brown. I apologize for interrupting. I was responding to something you had said when you formed it, President Kottman. If that's not so, we can certainly have that conversation, but I have every confidence that Dr. Evans-Brown will do a very able job on the committee, and I look forward to working with her.
No, I don't have a problem with that. It's just that the ad hoc committees are that, ad hoc. And they're not, they don't have to change because there's a change in the president or the vice presidents. That doesn't have to change. That doesn't have to be the guide. That's not in the guideline at all. So I just didn't know where that came from. So if you guys have worked that out, you're comfortable with it, then fine. It's not, but it's not a requirement.
It was part of an email that I had sent to you, so I wasn't aware that this was any issue on your end.
Just trying to get it clear about the ad hoc committees. You know, nothing really has changed on those except if you guys decide to switch things around, and that's your prerogative.
Certainly
Not a
is.
requirement.
And as I said, I look forward to
We're
working
okay with it.
Evans-Brown.
But my point is that we stalled because the individuals that Ann reached out to had to go back and talk with Dr. Cash first, or something to that effect. You remember that conversation? Ad hoc members? Okay, and so I was just giving that example because somebody asked for an example. So, you know.
Well, that's correct at this time. And and that's what we need to talk about because we've got about 8 ad hoc committees now. I had suggested 3, and those three were the most important pieces of work that we have to be focused on right now.
We have 8. We have 3 ad hoc committees at this point.
We have 3 at this point.
3.
Well, what are they? Because you're talking about athletics. That's the one that I don't understand as an ad hoc committee.
Okay. The problem is,
what committee are you the chair of, Terrence?
Of the athletic committee. Of
athletics. I didn't know that was an ad hoc committee.
You was there when we voted on
it. That might have been added.
I thought there were 2 new ones added. There were the 3 initial ones, and then last meeting you talked about 2 additional ones.
And what were they? What were they, Nate?
One was athletics, and then I don't know what the other one pertained to. I forgot. We'd have to look at the minutes.
So there's 5 now.
It was the charter school. Oh, no, we already have the charter. Can't remember. I'm sorry. It's late. I can't remember.
The only one that was added was the athletic committee. That was the only one that was added.
So we have some other hands up. So let's see what Larry was next, then Jennifer, then Lou.
Well, first, just a clarifying question on the athletics committee. I thought there was a district committee already formed that Jen McCosey was working on that Terrence was going to be part of, and there wasn't going to be something new, a separate ad hoc committee of the board that was created. Did I misunderstand that?
No, the first committee was dealing with the Section 6 about being able to be in a room to find out information or to work with information about going forward.
No, that wasn't it. It had to do with like the coaches, and there were
part of the union contract. Part of the settlement of the union contract required a specific just to dealing with the issues associated with the contract at the time. This goes back to 2017, if I remember right. Nate stepped out of the room. Darren, do you remember specifically? Do you?
The committee was put together with the interest of both the district and the BTF. It wasn't specifically just to honor a BTF contract. From what I was gathered being on that committee from the beginning, was that it was going to solidify not just to honor the contract, but to bring direction to the district around athletics. And that's why it had this 5 members from the BTF plus their legal, our 5 members, including a board member. At the time, it was our athletic director, Dr. Mauricio, Principal Covington, and a student from Performing Arts.
Okay.
So that what I'm asking for, and this, I'll put my hand down, is the athletic committee that Terrence is referring to. He did make mention of this at the last meeting. We did all say it was something that I don't think it was ever written, but it was something that was agreed to. I do believe that if it's possible, Dr. Cash, if we could get myself, Terrence, and Lou, just so Terrence is aware, because he's referencing things that are already in place in the MOU that we put on the table. Is it possible for us, the 3 of us, to just get that MOU and go from there as far as information goes? We have yet to meet. Right, but we need, I would rather have it officially from Nate to the 3 of us so that it's in the ether that it came, and then we refer to that and then come back to them if need be. Is that possible, just to get that MOU, a copy of that? Because I think that'll answer a lot of questions that you may have, Mr. Hurd. And then reflecting on what was already in place. Study tables were in place. A lot of things that you bring up were in place, and I just want to see whether we're going to continue that or move forward. I want to know, I believe in your vision. I'm going to be on this committee with you, but I would just ask if there's the board has any issue with me requesting, Dr. Cash, just that MOU.
Okay, Nate just came back into the room. Nate, I need some clarity. When the teacher's contract was settled, that committee that came as a result of that, what were the parameters associated with that? Was that just specifically to deal with the concerns with BTF, or was there something else, or was there more to that?
No, it was a committee comprised of coaches and district representatives to discuss really look at our athletic program globally. Now, there were a couple different components to that the committee focused on. The first was the hiring of athletic coaches. And then they were going to get into the evaluation of athletic coaches. So those were the 2 components that were discussed. And I believe it was going to, once that was completed, it was going to start looking at some facility issues.
Do you have a name for that? Does it have a specific name?
Yes, we just called it the Athletics Committee.
Just called the Athletics Committee. Okay.
And we did look, there were a number of ad hoc committees discussed last board meeting to add to the initial 3. So there was an athletics ad hoc committee, a health board ad hoc committee.
That's the health advisory that Dr. Cash has.
Yeah, right. Which was part of that. And then there was the equity ad hoc committee to work on the resolution. So those were the other ones in addition to the first 3.
Okay.
But ad hoc committees come and go, colleagues. They have various duration depending on the purpose. Now, all I want to do, we got to work together, and we understand. But all I want to do is just to share with you my concern. If we have 5 committees, 6 committees that are ad hoc, and each one of them has 3, 4, maybe 5 goals, that's 25 goals that I'm not even aware of. And then that has us going off. And then you say you want to ask staff to get you reports and information to help you reach the goals. Now we're way off. We're way off. And this work that we have is just, I can't even describe how monumental it is. And so when I talked about a reopening committee, we have a reopening committee. It's a gigantic thing. Dr. Brown is coordinating it. And as my understanding is, there's board members on the reopening committee. You don't need an ad hoc reopening committee. You'd be on the reopening committee as board members. Then you have a budgetary fiscal committee where we're in a sustainable budget right now, but we could tip that scale any minute now and go into a devastating and unrecoverable. And that's why that committee, that was its main purpose, is to make sure we have a checks and balances, that the board was very up to date and transparent about what decisions were going to be made should we get into a revenue deficit from the state, because so much of our revenue comes from the state, and we're waiting to see which way that goes because we don't know right now. And then the other one was student achievement. It was charter school. It was a subcommittee on charter schools because the main goal and objective of that, not 5 goals, just one goal, was to make sure that we moved everything we did. We worked toward getting legislation approved. First of all, written and get some sponsors so that we stop the expansion of charter schools in Buffalo. We're at a tipping point with that. So those are 3 things that are going to affect our future in a big, big way. Now, if you start working in ad hoc committees, I don't know what the goals are for those committees, and you have your own ideas and imaginations about it. Then you want staff to develop and give you information daily about stuff that I don't know where it's going. That's not good governance, and that's not functional as a district. So those are my objections, and I really think that we need to talk about it and get clear about it.
I'm sorry, I believe Lou had his hand up next. You've been patient.
I wasn't finished with my comment.
Just has the floor.
I just wanted to say that I saw email from Mr. Kuzma and Dr. Brown Hall regarding this, and it seems like there's policy, and there was a reference of state policy that individual board members can't act alone in requesting information, that we have to do so with consensus of the board. So I'm wondering, our chairs of our committees, our standing committees, are they individually able to request information, or is that something that also has to come before the entire board?
Yeah, right now you're absolutely correct. Individual board members don't have any authority to request, legal authority to request information. The ad hoc committees have no authority to request that information. That authority comes from the board as a whole. Now, I did speak, there could be the opportunity to develop a process where the ad hoc committees are delegated some authority by the board to request information, but, and I encourage this conversation to happen so you could speak with Dr. Cash about a process as well as his concerns, to avoid, requests that would burden staff's time in going on, quote unquote, wild goose chases. So I think that's why you're having this conversation, to see if you can figure out a process that might work for the ad hoc committees and the superintendent and the staff that he directs.
Okay.
But
so let me just.
I'm sorry, Nate. Can you please answer that question? Excuse me. He asked, was that state policy? I didn't read anywhere that was state policy. I believe that was this regional policy from our district.
It's the law. Individual board members are regular citizens. Your power comes from being a body of people that then directs the superintendent to do certain things. And requesting information is part of that. You have no authority as an individual board member to request information on your own and direct district staff to provide it. You just don't have it.
Okay.
Until we change policy by voting on it.
Until you've been empowered. Okay, can I just say one thing? Concern is that the board has always had to work with them in a more concise way.
I didn't hear you, Karen. What did you say?
When the board had, when Jim Kane was there, someone who worked specifically, full purpose was just to work for the board and the things that the board needed. We no longer have that ability. What we do is we share that person. And as a result, no disrespect to that person, they cannot just, they're busy. So I'm starting to wonder if there's not a need for the board to have their own liaison, so who could do this paperwork or who could do this work for us, okay, independent of someone reporting directly to you. Now that's just, I'm throwing that out. I just want to throw that out. Lou, your hand was up next.
Thanks, Sharon. One of the things, Dr. Cash, I get it. We don't want to send, these are unprecedented times. Staff's time is extremely precious and valuable, particularly because we're going to be under very tight constraints to get schools open and running and safe for our children. But there are times when we do need information as board members. And part of the present process that's just very time intensive. It takes a long time. And our school year, our elected year is very short. So if there is a report that we all deem that's necessary or that has validity for us to make an informed decision, then we need to have it in an expeditious manner as possible. You know, I don't want to wait 8 weeks or 6 weeks or 7 weeks or 5 weeks to get the report. So that's my concern, is that if we do have something, again, no wild goose chases, no craziness, but if it is something that we can agree upon, I would like to have it in a timely manner so we can move quickly.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that, but you just said the key phrase that we all agree upon. And that's why make the request in writing and then send it to your board colleagues, and then they'll let you know whether that's something that we need to be focused on right now. Give me an example, Lou. Give me an example. I mean, I want to give you whatever you need to make informed decisions as a body. That's my job, to give you the information you need so that as a board, you can make informed decisions. But this stuff has to move needles, it has to be value add, and it needs to be productive right now.
Yes, yes. We totally agree, Dr. Cash. We totally agree. But the problem is that it's taking too long to get information back. As I had to move forward, right now, according to the way it's done now, we have to wait 30 days to get a report back after we met. We have to go to our next session, and then we have to vote upon it once again, which takes more time.
No, that's not right. That's not correct.
Our ad hoc committees. These are hindering our ad hoc committees.
You send us stuff that's 5 pages long of questions and requests.
I sent you one simple email, Dr. Cash.
We don't have time.
A lot of emails, but
we don't have time.
Okay, one at a time.
I'm not understanding what you have time for. You're hindering our committees by doing this.
No, we're not hindering your committee. No, we're not. No, we're not.
We gave you examples.
Make the request. Let me look at it. And I'm going to ask the rest of the board to say yes, why. That means yes. And N, that means no. And if you get your 5 board members that believe that's something that the staff should go chase, then I'll have somebody go chase it. That's the process. And you can do that right over email. Right over email.
We're asking right now to vote upon it from our board members. That's what we're asking.
No, you don't have to vote. They just say yes, or no.
Hey.
That doesn't make any sense to go get that information. What do you need that information right now for?
Okay, well, what my concern is with the...
Let me ask this question, Madam President. We got kids right now that's being killed on our streets in a dramatic way right now. We have shootings going on in the city of Buffalo. We got kids out in the streets that's not having an opportunity to live a decent life or be safe in their own neighborhoods. We try to put programs together to help these children and to put them in situations where they can succeed and give them education.
Who is we?
It's board members, Dr. Cash. Are you disconnected or something? Listen to what I'm saying.
Are you?
Wait a minute, Dr. Cash.
I'm aware of those issues going on. I'm aware of them going on. When did you direct me to do something about that? When did you direct me to do something about that?
I'm trying to hear what Terrence is saying. Finish what you're saying, Terrence.
Because you're not giving me the example I need.
Finish what you need, but I need to know what he's saying. So what is your goal? What are you talking about?
I'm not understanding what you need, Dr. Cash. I know what our kids need. And the ad hoc committee is looking to put forward programs and helping with the district in certain ways. So as of right now, if you want to be part of the program or have a board member
I'm glad you know what the kids need. That's great. But you're not hearing me.
Dr. Cash. He's here. We're all hearing you. Calm down.
No.
Wait a minute. No, it's okay. Lou Petrucci, is your hand up again?
And then you didn't like the answer.
Down. All right. Okay, good.
So really frustrating that we asking for information, or when we ask for information that we not receiving it, and the ad hoc committee was formed for this purpose, for the purpose of helping the district or looking at things that we can present to the district that may be affordable for our children and the community. And that's what we're trying to do. And I just feel that I'm not going to judge you by your language right now, but what I am going to do is say that there's a number of us that wants to be able to receive information so we can move forward our committees instead of waiting week to week and passing emails back and forth to see that we receive.
And I gave you my view. I gave you my view.
And my
directed
suggestion,
by the board. I'm
my
not
suggestion,
directed by one board member. I'm directed by the board.
my suggestion was for each ad hoc committee that's working was to bring a list, to the board meeting of information that you need to assist with your work. That way the board can converse about it and you can receive feedback and have a conversation with Dr. Cash about what's necessary to achieve the goals of that committee. I think
a work session, right?
Yeah, well, there's no work sessions over the summer, so, but you could bring it to a work session, you could bring it to a board meeting, and the ad hoc committee chair could bring that to the full board's attention and have a conversation with Dr. Cash. That way everybody's on the same page and you can move forward from there, and it's in public and there's a record of it. So I think that would be the most efficient approach.
Okay. Well, I hear what the board members are saying is that, and I think there are 3 that have concerns about not being able to get information that they need. Larry, your hand is up.
Yeah, I was just going to reference that with the charter school ad hoc committee, which we need to get an update on. I put together goals reflective of the committee. Those goals were presented. Certain priorities were laid out. We discussed that in a work session. I know there's interest in having an athletic ad hoc committee. I know there are needs in regards to athletics, but I'm not quite sure what the purpose and the goals are of that committee. And I think as an entire board, we deserve to hear about what the goals are, what the priorities are, and then in line with that, what information is needed to then accomplish or work on those goals.
Okay, so my concern here is that if an ad hoc committee is going to request information, that they get the information in a timely manner. Now, in regards to the charter school situation, the charter ad hoc, there's no one that's working charters at this point. So in the past, we had someone who we could simply call a board member, call a staff, and they would provide that information. Case in point, Ann Fitzgerald was one of those people.
Dr. Crestis is assigned to our committee.
Well, he's assigned, but my point is that a person who could pull that information together. Okay, so if he can pull the information together without being pulled away from Dr. Cash to do the work. He is one of Dr. Cash's cabinet members. In the past, we did not have a cabinet member.
But I assigned one to each one of these ad hoc committees. I assigned the lead cabinet member.
So they can do the work. So you have someone in place that can do the work.
They can help with the work. Ad hoc committee's supposed to do work too.
Okay, so that's
what we try to do.
If we had our liaison, if we had someone who specifically was assigned to the board, we certainly could do more work. You're right about that.
No,
true.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. What Larry laid out was what the process was to get information that he needed for his committee, and he's gotten every information that he's needed. If Paulette or whoever's in charge of the fiscal committee has questions or needs information, Jeff Pritchard is my lead, and he will get that information to that committee. Okay? What's the next one? Reopening of schools. Who's your lead for that? If they have a question or they have some issue that they want us to help with not take us away from the reopening of schools, then Ann Botticelli, Darren Brown, those are my leads for the reopening of schools.
So let me just say, let's stop right there. Kathy, Ann, okay, are either of you guys are on this reopening committee that Dr. Cash has?
Darren, answer the question.
Yeah, you're talking about, Darren just sent me the information for a meeting on Monday, so we just got on.
Right, Dr. Evans Brown, at the meeting on Monday, Dr. Evans Brown asked to be added to that list. In the past, I know I had contacted the ad hoc committee because I didn't want them to be duplicating work, and when we had information, we would send it along. Our reopening committee for the district also, we had meetings. However, we are waiting for the state ed guidance and the Department of Health guidance. So that's what we'll be going over Monday in the meeting that Dr. Evans Brown is coming to.
to that
right.
meeting, and there's another group?
No, that's the
Or is that-
reopening committee, the one you're coming to Monday.
All right.
Okay,
That's what I
so
assumed.
so what we definitely need to do is we need to just be clear a couple of things. Let's make sure that each ad hoc committee has its goals in writing and share it with each each board member. I'm concerned about having a duplicate committee and you guys have to explain to me why there's a need to have a reopening committee and you being a part of Dr. Cash's reopening committee, but you can share that with me.
Can I explain that right now then? The reopening committee was made before there was another Dr. Cash reopening committee was actually formulated. That was formed through the ad hoc committee. It was actually asked by Dr. Cash, recommended by him that we formulate something like this, and we chose, and 4 of us agreed to be on that committee. So we sit on that committee, and as of right now, from my understanding, just so we get an update, Kathy Evans Brown would be the person from the committee, since she chairs it now, that'll be going to the meetings and reporting back to the committee. And she'll be able to decipher the information, receive information, and give information from the community and information from other board members about what's going on or what we decide what we want to do or what we think the best practice would be to move forward. So that's how that committee is running and operating.
Wow.
Okay, so you have.
I don't think that's correct. I think you got to talk to me about what your goals are for your committees. You can't act in isolation in these ad hoc committees. I need to know what your goals are. If you're going to ask my staff to help you, then let's make sure that these are efficient operations. Efficiency.
There's not a problem with that, Dr. Cash. The issue is that if each ad hoc committee puts together their goals, then we will have a chance to.
You didn't say share it with me.
No.
You said share it with the board.
Share it with the board to see if it's relevant to the board, and then move it over to your office. Okay, you just said that in order for us to be able to do something, we have to have the board involved. So if the board determines that that's not the direction that they want to go in, is going in a different direction, then the board has a chance to fix it before it even comes to you. Do you understand that?
No, I
then
don't.
You have the conversation. Well, you understand it once it starts working out, because that's what happened with the charter school committee. We got together, we talked, we planned, we gave it, shared it with the board. Then the board was in agreement with it, no problems, nobody had any additional additions. Next thing you know, you're involved in it, and you have what the board is trying to do. That's the same process that we've done.
No. The staff did all the work on that committee. We did a lot of work, and then you used our work to go out and communicate about it. And I'm still doing work on the charter school committee. What are you talking about? That's not the way that goes. We do the work.
You're supposed to do. I don't have a problem with you doing the work, but the ad hoc committee is to tell you what the board wants done. Difference.
No, that's not. That shouldn't be it. That should not be it.
That's what
that should not be it. You got to involve me in those conversations. You got to involve staff.
Be involved in the conversation. It's not an issue of you not being involved. We can't get the work done if you're not involved. What's not going to happen is you're not going to tell us. You're not going to tell the board what their priorities are. We're going to tell you what our priorities are.
Yeah, no. You should be talking to me about it. That's how you set goals for the year.
Let's talk. I want to talk with you. I don't have a problem, but when we met as I don't know about the other committees. I just know about the charter committee. I know how the charter committee works. I don't know about the other committees. We will get you involved once the board has determined that that's the direction they want to go in.
That's not good. That's not good governance. How do you know what direction you want to go in unless you talk to me?
That's the conversation we're going to have with you at that point, and you will be able to give your opinion.
No, it's not an opinion. It's an informed guidance and professional opinion.
Fine, you're informed guidance and professional, whatever. We still need to be able to have an idea of what the board wants.
Okay.
The board is requesting information. You want to make sure the board wants that information.
I got no problem with you requesting information.
So my question to the board is, are we going to be able, or even to you, are we going to be able to get this information considering how many people, you're down and how many people are working? Because, ideally, the ideal situation is the board has its own person who's working just for us, like it was in the past.
That was not the way it was. And that person still would not be able to get much of the data. They would have to go to request it from other staff members. So Jim Kane was very limited in that avenue. He was not able to do what you're explaining.
See, I don't know his limits. I never saw his limits because everything that we asked for, he delivered. So I didn't know how he went about getting it.
Right, because he went to other departments begging for it. He wasn't able to pull it up himself. He went to other departments begging for it.
I didn't think he was able to, but he was able to facilitate for the board. Is the point that I'm making.
Which created other work for other departments. I just want to make that clear.
My concern is that you're one person, and I'm concerned that we don't burn you out. That's all. That's my concern.
No, I understand. Thank you.
Now, that's all I'm talking about. I'm afraid of burning you out. That's it. Thank you. So, board members, I've heard that there was frustration because you can't get information. With your goals, put your goals together. Let the board take a look at your goals and things that you want, and also include in there what your recommendations are. Include that with the things that you want. Let the board take a look at that. If we have to have a special meeting to discuss it over the phone, we can do that. Or if we can do many meetings to do it. But we need an idea of what your concerns are that you're not getting, because unless you tell me, I don't know what you're not getting. And we certainly don't want to take anything from the done to move the district to the next level. We're not trying to do that.
Let's just talk about the athletic ad hoc committee. Our goals are to move forward and make good presentations to the superintendent so that we can present something formidable, something admirable, and something that's going to be that could be used by the district. The problem is that for us to present this, we need more information. And so that we can present to Dr. Cash. We have no problem of including Dr. Cash's staff in the planning stages of this. We don't have any problem with that. We want to work with you. But it seems like
without them.
It seems like we're just being denied for basic, simple information. And I don't think that's is appropriate for us to be stalled. We just need simple information to move forward. But we're not asking the district to lay out the plan. We're not asking the district to present it or use up all this time. We're just asking this for information so that we can move forward from week to week. And
not we.
Larry, Jennifer.
Not we. You keep saying we.
I don't know who you're talking about, Terrence.
Let's hold on.
You need to get a process. Terrence has outlined the process. Establish your goals, establish what you're trying to do, what are your deliverables, if any, how are you moving the district forward, and what information you think you need. That would be helpful for me.
Jennifer, you're next.
My staff is the one to have the information. We have it.
So is your hand down? Okay, Jennifer.
But I can't chase 30 goals in a year.
Jennifer,
and we got a big year up ahead, and we haven't even set the goals for me for this year. We haven't done that.
Jennifer,
I totally see, Dr. Cash, where you're coming from. Terrence, I want to ask, and I want to do this in front of the board, that you and I and Lou actually meet to put a timeline together and what we discussed around information we may need in order to set the goals that we want to put forth. Because what you had just said about our goals they were kind of broad. I think Dr. Cash is looking for more direct goals. Mm-hmm. And if we can get, the MOU when it's time that, we sit and discuss what's up. I want to just put out there that the athletic committee is new. It hasn't really been, we did not meet yet. I believe this is a lot of back and forth over, we know we need information. I'm glad we're figuring out how we're going to go about it. But let's have our first meeting. Let's do what Dr. Cash is requesting and put those goals in place, or at least a timeline of what we're looking for. And if you guys are okay with that and the board is okay with that, we'll present to you what we need and then give to Dr. Cash what he's looking for. I feel like it's a simple request and we have to just be a little more clear and precise with the goals that we want to put in place for this committee, and we don't want to double the work that's
Workload.
already been put in place.
Okay, good. So that's good.
I sent them that in the email. We did have a meet date. We did meet individually. And so we have had a meeting that's been recorded, but also sent the email individually. It wasn't an email asking for a lot. It wasn't trying to tie his staff down and understand his concerns about reopening the district. We're not trying to interfere with that also. We need to set it back a moment so that can be finalized about the reopening of the district. We're willing to do that. That's not a problem. Yes, I use the word we, because we all should be understanding of what's important in this district. And this is one other thing that is important. There's many things, many objectives that constitutes attention right now, and we can't forget other things, which is our kids, and devising a plan to help formulate them in education, in sports, and college. This is all designed for our kids to go to college and receive college scholarships, education, training, mentoring. So I think that's important also, Dr. Cash. So we will work with you. We want to work with you, but we want you to work with us too. I want you to work with us. I want you to work with us.
I don't know who us is. It's us is us. Us is us. All I'm asking
is this board.
What are you trying to do? Let's put it out there and let everybody say these are goals that we believe are important for the superintendent. I have staff who are working at capacity right now. I understand you want to do a whole lot of things. We all want to do a whole lot of things. But I have to manage staff's time. They have been working harder than ever in the history with this COVID thing, because we're on the phone from early in the morning to late at night, every day, including the weekend. And it's very, very challenging. Everybody is under a lot of stress right now. And I'm just trying to look out for them. I'm looking out for capacity.
No problem.
Capacity. And we can't do a whole lot of stuff that maybe you have as a goal. I want to know, I don't know what you all are trying to do when you say, we'll bring you what we want you to do. That's not in my contract. My contract says you set some goals for me for the district each year. And believe me, if those goals are done right, that is plenty of work to do. Plenty of work to do.
Okay,
now
Larry.
We're talking about adding 5 more committees, each with 5 or 6 goals, each with maybe 20 requests for information. Stop it.
Well, you know what? Larry Scott, you're next.
Yeah, just quickly, we're all over the map tonight, and I just need to make it clear that my priority right now is reopening our schools safely, and that, in my opinion, is what we should be focused on, what I want the superintendent and his team focused on, how we're going to safely reopen our schools, how we're going to conduct education, how the health issues, the social emotional issues, the academic issues for this coming school year. That we have a lot of priorities, but that to me needs to be our #1 priority. We need a plan submitted to state ed by the end of the month, and then things are going to move fast from there, and things could change very quickly from there. So that's what I think we need our attention on right now.
So my priority is to make sure we do that, as well as that we start including equity in our formula. So as we get an opportunity to look at the changes that we have to do, that we make sure that in a general conversation, that there's nothing wrong with having a conversation saying, because the guidance department, just using them for an example, may not be doing the proper forms by a certain date, that could be a recommendation from the sports committee or whatever. I don't think it's about having a bunch of things that are just goals or whatever. I think it's some tweaking that just needs to be done to make sure that our children have the same opportunity that other children in other districts are having. And that's why we pay the big bucks, and that's why they get handsome salaries. So yes, it's difficult at this point, but we still got work to do. We cannot ignore the fact that our kids are not getting scholarships because they're not completing paperwork.
You got Say Yes in here. Nobody in the country has Say Yes. And Say Yes job
nothing to do with college. I'm talking about the athletic piece.
That's what they do.
And your hand went up. And then Terrence, and we're wrapping this up because it's late. Dr. Cash, stop being on the defense. We're all on the same team.
No, I'm not on the defense. I'm looking after staff. That's what I'm looking after.
Well, I'm looking after them too, and I'm looking after children, and that's what we're here for. And your turn.
We hear about the kids.
Your turn. Come on now, come on. And your turn.
The only thing I want to make a point of is that reopening well is equity. Equity. But I have to say, we got to focus on this like right now, because that's the biggest piece. Staff's working on it. I respect that, Dr. Cash. And I just want to make the point that if we're going to move things forward and we're going to continue to move things forward, equitable work right there is supporting the work for reopening.
Absolutely. And that's the lens we put it through first. Is it going to happen equitably? And that's a huge challenge.
Yes, it is. It's a big elephant. It's a big elephant.
Talk about it, but it's much harder to execute against it.
Terrence, this is the last on this subject, please.
That's what we're trying to do.
This is the last, and we're wrapping up.
But first, let me respond to Larry. Yes, I'm concerned about reopening schools just like everybody else and every single parent in this district and across this country and across the world. Everybody's concerned about the kids going back to school and doing it safely and actually being in classrooms, actually being in seats. We all want the same goals. We all have that. But there are other things that's going on too also. We got kids that it's a chance that school may not reopen. There's a chance that it'll be virtual learning coming up the next year.
That's right.
That's reopening.
That's all part of it. It's all part of it.
But we also have to concentrate our kids that's at home, that's on the streets. No, there's other responsibilities we have also as a district. Our children these are our kids. These are our children. And if we don't put programs together or put a slate athletic education system together for them that's going to be formulated, that can prosper, that can move them through high school and into college and start receiving college scholarships. I asked for one simple report. And that report was how many of our kids went to receive a college education, college scholarship, Division I, Division II, Division III this year. That's a simple report.
No, it isn't.
I haven't received anything back from that yet. There's a report that you go and see where our kids are enrolled in school at. I mean, back in January, I've seen other school districts across the country where kids actually announced that they're being accredited to a college or a school on a college scholarship. That's announcement day in most cities. In Buffalo, we don't have that. We don't have an announcement day where our kids can say, okay, I'm
you got a whole lot more than most districts, I guarantee you.
Let people talk, please.
A whole lot more.
We don't receive information. We would not know that, Dr. Cash.
Who is
we? Don't know that information.
Who is we? That's right. That's right. That's the point.
And members of the community.
You haven't received.
And members of the community also. We haven't received that information, so we wouldn't know that.
There's need for improvement in every area, so we acknowledge that.
And I'm good.
There's need for improvement in every area, and we want to make sure it happens as a board.
And acknowledge when it does happen also. That'd be helpful.
Okay, the request
we do. So, Ann, is your hand still up or are you down? Okay. All right. That's it. Good conversation. Here's what we're going to do. Moving forward, you're going to put together your committee goals.
I made a motion. I'm asking that we vote that the ad hoc committee chair to be allowed to receive information so that we don't have to wait 30 or 30, 60, 90 days for information so we can move our ad hoc committees forward. That was the goal, so that we can work more accordingly as a district and working together.
We adjusted away from that. We said we want to get a goal first, and we want to see what the information is.
I did not. It's simple information that we can use to move forward. It's simple. We're not going to listen. If I just said, if you need time for the district to engage and finish some of the work that they're doing, we're not trying to interfere with that. We're not trying to interfere with that. We're just trying to change something that we can have move forward.
Second for his motion.
Yeah.
This point, is there a second for his motion?
Yeah, I'll second it, Sharon.
Lou Petrucci seconds it. Okay, let's be clear what the motion is. I'm requesting the board to vote on of the ad hoc committees, the ability to request direct information from the superintendent without getting clearance from the board. Is that what you're requesting?
It's not out getting clearance from the board. We received that when we formed the ad hoc committees. We just wanted to use information so that we can move forward our ad hoc committee, so we can present something, a detailed information to the superintendent for whatever ad hoc committees have to do. That goes committees.
Ms. Cottman, I think you captured what he's asking for. The ad hoc committees don't have any authority to request information. What he's asking for is for them to have that authority to request the information of the superintendent.
Without the entire board's approval.
Correct. So basically a delegation of the board's authority to the ad hoc committees.
And I wouldn't agree with that, but that'll be your choice to vote on that.
Well, let me say this, because we're having a discussion. Where I have a concern is that if you have not put in place goals and your objectives are, we are just giving you a ability to just ask for anything. If we have an understanding as a board of what your goals are, objectives are, then I don't think the board would have a problem with that, as long as you stay within your objectives.
And I wouldn't either.
Now, what I'm trying to figure out, because I don't want to hinder you from doing your work, but what I'm trying to figure out is, do we do step 1, 2, and then we take the vote for step 3? Or do we just jump out there and do step 3 and not do 1 and 2?
That would be my recommendation, President Cottman, what you just said.
I'm just trying to get some order of it, because let me explain what my concern is. In the past, board members have been used to get information used against us in the papers and in lawsuits and things. And that's what my concern is that if we don't have a...
Absolutely, yes.
Well,
I'm just trying to get...
I understand what you're saying, President Cottman. I believe that the fair way to do it is that that the ad hoc committee, the members should sign off on information that they're looking for to help move the committee forward, so that it just won't be one person asking for it. It'll be members of the ad hoc committee. I think that's the fair.
Get your goals together first. Get your goals together first.
I think that's the
well,
fair.
Your hand is up.
The way that the ad hoc committees, the original 3 were to be structured, if we look back at the emails, was that each committee was supposed to put forth their goals. They were supposed to meet, put forth their goals and their objectives, and then work with the district in order to receive those. I think Sharon is, President Cottman and Dr. Cash, and I think I mentioned it before, we have to put the goals in place, or it is kind of a, not willy-nilly ask, but then there's actual direction, and then Dr. Cash knows what we're looking for and why. When you're just asking for information with no goals or objectives attached to it, the why comes into place and all of the extracurricular.
There was goals attached to the email about why we buy actual information. There was goals attached to the email.
And can you send those back out to Lou and I? And I believe that you and I and Lou really need to sit down and maybe put this in place. Because now I don't want to argue the importance of the committee.
Don't you understand, Terrence, that if you had to go and Jennifer doesn't know the goal, then it's not a real goal of the ad hoc committee. She doesn't even know what you're talking about.
She was sent the email also.
Okay. All right, colleagues, I'm tired. I haven't eaten all day. My sugar is bad. I got to go.
Okay.
Well, we have a motion that's been seconded on the table, so we got to deal with that. Either by a vote
Mr.
or
Hurd,
by
do
the
you want to
motion being
withdraw
withdrawn.
your motion at this time or put it to vote?
Put it to vote.
Wow.
Hurd, do you want to withdraw your motion at this time or put?
That's being stubborn.
Talking good governance here. Cassie Brown, doctor.
I just think that the goals of the committee ought to be clear with all of your committee people first. I don't think it's a big ask for asking for information to move your ad hoc committee forward. But it goes back to what President Cottman said. We don't want to do 3 and you haven't done 1. So I think it's important to get the goals and objectives and deliverables, in place first. Because I think it's not a big ask what you're asking for to move this
just got to do basic stuff.
Yeah, so let's get the basic fundamentals in place first, and then bring the motion up at the next meeting.
Want to continue forward, or you want to withdraw? Mr. Hurd.
Yeah, I want to speak.
Want to what?
Well, Kat, she hasn't voted yet, so I don't think I can speak till she vote.
Discussion
No,
stage.
you can speak until the vote. Nobody's voted yet, so it's still your turn to talk if you like.
Okay. I don't have any problems following that chain. I believe that's the way it should be done anyway. We should be able to meet, comprise our goals and move forward from that direction. But some of our goals are going to be comprised of some of the data from the district. And if we can't receive that, how do you expect us to go forward and make our goals or make our points? We have different objectives that we have. And if some of the information is financial and we ask for that information, how can we move forward without having to disseminate that and put that into the plan?
So I think we can help with that.
There's a roadblock with that.
I think we can help with that. I think there's a way to write them that will cover that. I feel that it can be done that way. I feel that Lou can do that, and Jennifer and you. I feel that y'all can put that together. I really do. And meet it, because you're going to always have additional things you'll be adding on as you accomplish one thing. So it's not as if, but you've got to at least have those 3 things in place. I mean, those 2 things in place. Really do. And I'm struggling with that because I'm trying to do this equity ad hoc. And trust me, the conversations I've been having on that. So you will withdraw it at this point?
Same issues. And you're going to run into the same issues.
No, I'm not going to run into the same issues. Trust me, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. Okay. Would you like to withdraw it at this point, Mr. Hurd?
Well, I guess it must be a reason you keep asking me. So, yeah, I withdraw.
Thank you. I think that's a good thing because I think I feel like Vice President Brown, I don't think that Evans Brown, I don't think it's a big ask. It's just that the board needs to be clear on what's being asked. That's all. Okay. All right. Without any additional conversation and all minds are clear, can we conclude this meeting at this point?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Meeting is second. Second. Jennifer? Okay. Meeting
All
is
right,
adjourned.
colleagues. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.